Over the years, the game industry as a whole has developed quite a complicated relationship with user-generated content, especially with mods and their authors. While modding allows a game's community to directly provide additional content for it, they also can massively impact the games they work on for best or for worst, with their contributions often affecting a game's reputation and identity itself. Because of this, some studios such as Nintendo work hard to prevent their games from being modified even slightly, while other developers welcome modders into their communities with open arms. Needless to say, the dynamic between modders and game devs are quite inconsistent, but today I want to look at what happens when a strong, robust base game cultivates a talented modding community that helps the game reach even greater heights. Rimworld is a sci-fi colony sim survival game developed by Tynan Sylvester and Ludion Studios. Players take control of settlers with varying skills, traits, and personalities in order to survive and eventually escape the harsh planet they find themselves trapped on. The idea of a colony-building game may not be anything revolutionary, but what makes the game so special is how carefully designed and fleshed out the world around you feels, and because of this, each player's experience feels wildly unique. For example, let's take the simple task of making money. Silver exists as the game's main currency, and while you can sometimes find natural deposits of it, you get most of your wealth through trading. But what exactly do you sell? Well, do you have easy access to metals? Try producing weapons. No, do you have lots of leftover fur from hunting animals? Try crafting and selling clothing. But what type of fur will yield the most money? What type should I keep for myself? Should I focus on hunting a certain kind of animal? Which settlers should be crafting these clothes, and who should I be selling these to? And all of a sudden, the simple task of selling clothes all of a sudden has many separate factors influencing it. So many systems like this are carefully constructed and oftentimes intertwined on purpose with each other to have different factors influencing player decision while also allowing for the player to choose. There isn't one obvious answer to every problem, and it is instead left up to the player to decide what they feel is the right decision, allowing for a multitude of different outcomes. This, of course, is an absolute goldmine for modders. The strong, well-developed systems within Rimworld provide a perfect framework and foundation for modders to build upon and expand to their liking. Mods like Alpha Animals and Alpha Biomes introduce new exotic climates, wildlife, and plant life, each with various uses and drawbacks. The Vanilla Expanded series builds upon many different aspects of the game, with the most popular of the collection being those that expand the different factions within the game, adding many more threats and many new rewards for the players to encounter. We've received overhauls to things such as cooking and weaponry, new lore-friendly technology trees, the ability to provide hospitality to travelers, improvements to UI, and even new alien races. But amidst all this content, the identity of Rimworld as a game isn't harmed at all, but instead it seems to be bolstered. Rimworld still plays and feels like Rimworld, even with a massive mod list including some of the additions above, a unique dynamic that is often not seen with thriving mod communities. Okay, Mr. Grunktopia, this community seems pretty good and all, but this doesn't exactly seem to be as special as you're making it out to be. Plenty of games have strong modding communities that surely have a similar dynamic. Well, even with a successful mod community, not all games can reach the same balance between game expansion and preserving a game's identity. Take Minecraft, for example. Minecraft has an insanely large and thriving mod scene more than a decade after its launch, and a very strong vanilla game to boot. But it doesn't quite bolster its identity as a game in the same way. Most mods and mod packs like RTcraft, Aethermod, or Sky Factory seem to completely overhaul Minecraft into something that feels like a completely new game that seems like Minecraft. This isn't bad by any means, it's just not the same rare synergy we see with Rimworld and its modding community. On the other hand, many Bethesda games such as Fallout 4 and Skyrim have massive amounts of mods due to the continued use of their open source creation engine. In fact, I'd even argue that it's one of the largest mod scenes ever in gaming history. But because these communities exist within very flawed, buggy games, they have ended up doing more bug fixes and improvements to their respective games than the developers themselves, with things like the unofficial patch mods existing in both games. Not quite a healthy relationship. Thus, Rimworld seems to be a rather curious case of symbiosis between a strong vanilla game and an equally strong modding community, with neither seeming to really overshadow the other. Modders are an impactful part of the game industry, and one that can drastically improve a game if allowed to. So instead of preventing modification of games completely, or giving modders a flawed game and flawed engine to work with, I believe game devs should be taking notes on the case of Rimworld, a game whose modding community was given the perfect foundation to work with and in turn unleashed the game's potential.